Hi guys, it's me Danielle from Got Room for More. I hope everyone is staying sane. I know we're like kind of on edge, like we're at our wits' end, but we're gonna get through this. And how we're gonna do it is by eating some delicious meals. So thank you all for joining me last Sunday for the meatballs and sauce. I know a lot of you enjoyed that. So now we're gonna do a nice Lenten meal because I'm Catholic and I don't eat don't eat meat on Fridays during Lent, so I'm making salmon today. This recipe is also great for a white fish, like a flounder as well. So if you don't like salmon, that's a great alternative. You can also do this on chicken too, so that's a great alternative too. Let's jump right into it. Your oven should be preheated to 375 degrees, so it's nice and hot. And we're gonna start with the potatoes because the potatoes are gonna take the longest to roast. So let's get that moving along. And please ask questions along the way. My husband Dan is filming right now, my sidekick, and he will ask me the questions as they come. So we have some baby potatoes here. These are the nice tri-colored ones. They've got purple and red and yellowish colored potatoes. I love these. So we're just gonna cut them up. So they're not all exactly the same size, you can see here. We just wanna get them to equal sizes so that they cook at the same time. So I'm gonna cut the smaller ones just in half, like so. And bigger ones, this I can cut into like 3 pieces. Does not have to be perfect at all. And this is a very simple roasted potato. We're gonna have delicious dairy-free creamed spinach. That'll be a nice rich kind of side. And the potatoes will just be really simple. And I love that. So we're gonna put them on a sheet pan that I've covered with just foil, super simple, or you can just kind of spray your pan. That's fine too.
First question.
All right, talk to me.
From Rebecca.
Hi,
She wants to know
Rebecca.
if these are creamer potatoes.
Creamer potatoes, is that what you said?
Yes.
So I think what you're saying is, are these potatoes that are good for like mashed potatoes or something? Correct me if I'm wrong. This is not the best potato for that. This is what we call a waxy potato. So better for roasting because they hold their shape more. A potato like a russet or a golden Yukon, those are what we call like a mealy potato actually. And those are much better for either baking, where you want to just eat the inside baked, or for peeling and boiling and mashing. But great question. But I wouldn't really mash these because what happens with these two is they get kind of starchy and gluey. So not the best texture for mashed potatoes. And I know you love a mashed potato, Rebecca. So we're just cutting up our potatoes. Let's get this moving along. I'm using my nice kind of 6 or 8 inch chef's knife here. I love this for cutting things like potatoes. You get a nice grip and you'll be less likely to hurt yourself. So please be careful. What's everybody been cooking this week since I last saw you? Tell me. I'd love some inspiration because that's all we've been doing is cooking and eating. I swear my day just revolves around the next meal. Not that that's any different from my normal life, but even more so, I guess. So just cut your potatoes. Let me know if you need me to slow down at all. All right, they're all on a sheet tray like this. You don't want to crowd them too much. These have a decent amount of space because what will happen is they'll steam and they won't get a nice crispy edge. So now we need a good amount of oil. This is my extra virgin olive oil. Just drizzle that over the top.
Cooking Up Trouble's been making scallops and roasted corn puree.
Wow, Cooking Up Trouble, hi. Steve, my friend, you gotta follow him. He's an amazing chef. And I'm sure that was amazing. He makes incredible fish dishes, and I'm sure those scallops were restaurant quality as usual.
What temperature for the potatoes?
So 375, I have my oven on so we can cook the salmon and the potatoes both in the same oven. That's gonna be easy that way. I just did a nice hefty amount of salt. Potatoes and starchy vegetables require a lot of salt to get that flavor in there. So now we're going to do our rosemary. So this is also something you can play around with. I like to use rosemary because I think it's such a nice smell especially, and just goes really nicely with potatoes. But you can use fresh thyme, you can use dill, whatever you prefer. But I'm gonna do just like a nice little bunch of fresh rosemary, and I removed them from the stems. And now we're just gonna run our knife, just be careful because this is an herb that's a little tougher to cut. So Just be careful, run your knife up and down. I'm trying to do this slowly so you can see. And then up and down, rock your knife through that. This is called chiffonade. We're just chiffonading, if that's a word, our herbs. Like so. Look at that. It smells really amazing, almost like a Christmas tree in here. Now we're just gonna sprinkle the beautiful rosemary all over those potatoes. I like a lot because, again, I love rosemary so much. My grandmother's name was Rosemary, so I think that's also a reason why I love it so much. And now some freshly ground black pepper. So just grind some pepper on top. And then we have one final ingredient, and that is shallot. I like a little bit of that oniony flavor, and shallots are more mild, a little bit sweeter. So I love it with the potato. So we're gonna just cut probably only half of this shallot. So just be careful. Sometimes shallots are kind of two combined, or three, sometimes little bulbs within one. So I'm just gonna separate those like so. And this should be enough, just this one side. Cut the sides off, both ends, okay? Now do a vertical cut down the back, just a little bit, just so we can peel that outer layer, like so. And now we're just going to do thin slices. I'm not gonna do too fine of a dice here, partly because these will burn and the potatoes will still be raw. So you have to keep that in mind when you're cooking, that onions cook faster than the potatoes. So I'm gonna do slices, kind of like, I'd say this is a little more than, I'd say it's like a 1/4 inch slices. And that should work just fine. And then at the end, just chop it up. No big deal, very easy. Break it up in half just to kind of separate the little pieces. Look at that. So we have nice slices of shallot, and now sprinkle them all in with your potatoes. My eyes are definitely tearing a little bit. Christina Gordon, I'm thinking of you. Yes, again, I am not immune to my eyes tearing when I cut onions by any means. All right, I'm just really emotional about these potatoes. So look at that. Already looks gorgeous. I'm gonna pop it in the oven. Stand by. Now get your pan on medium heat. I'm using, this is for our spinach. I'm using a pan that has like 2.5, 3-inch sides because we're gonna put some liquid in here. We're gonna need a little space. But a frying pan is okay too, just as long as it's big enough. You wanna have some room because all the spinach is gonna go in here at one time, and you wanna make sure you have room. So I'm popping the potatoes in. Again, 375 degrees. Just so we keep it consistent with our salmon. And now we're ready to go for our spinach. Let's get started. So our pan's getting nice and hot. I started heating mine a couple minutes before the live because this takes a little while to heat up. But I'm sure your flame will take a lot less time than mine. We're gonna start by cutting our onion. So I have here a medium size, like a baseball, yellow onion. I like yellow onions because they're a bit sweeter. I'm gonna cut both ends off. We're probably gonna use only like 3/4 of this. So cut about 3/4 of the way down. Set the smaller part aside. You can use that another day. And now I'm just gonna peel that outer layer, just that first rubbery layer, that unfavorable kind of too tough layer that won't really saute nicely and melt down. I'm gonna remove that, and now I'm just gonna do a nice dice. So just like we did with our meatballs the other day in our sauce, we just cut vertical cuts first, watching our fingers, and these are about 1/2 inch vertical cuts, like so. And then we're gonna do horizontal cuts, just 2, depending on the size of your onion, but you just want like a medium dice, we would call this. And cut down. Watch your fingers, of course. Okay, and then just run your knife. Does not have to be perfect. It's all gonna cook down together. It's just more so we get everything to cook around the same amount of time. Now our pan feels a little bit warm, so that means we're going to add some extra virgin olive oil. You can also use avocado oil here if you'd like. I wouldn't use coconut oil because we're using coconut milk already. It might be too overpowering of the coconut flavor. And if you want to make this non-gluten-free, dairy-free, then you can use whole milk, or even half and half would work great in that. This too would be really rich. We're going dairy-free. So that was about 2 to 3 tablespoons. We need a good amount of oil because we have a good amount of stuff to saute in here. And now I'm gonna add the onions to that oil. You're gonna hear it sizzle just a little bit. We wanna be able, though, to sweat these down. They can get a little color, but not too dark. We want them to really soften and mellow out and sweeten up. And I've got my wooden spoon on standby. We're gonna toss it all together. All right, so while that's starting to cook, because this is gonna take a minute, we're going to begin our salmon breading mixture, because this will take a minute. So this is also a test of time management in the kitchen, all right? So that's something that I think I'm so grateful I went to culinary school, because I learned so much about time management in school, and it's not easy in the kitchen. So this is our breading. It's very easy. This is what we're going to start with. It's just some breadcrumbs, seasoned breadcrumb. I like 4C. We talked about this in a couple videos this week. Has a lot of great dried spices and a little pecorino romano cheese already in it, so a lot of flavor. I'm going to add some of this to a bowl. Just have a little cheat sheet so I don't forget. All right, so we're going to do about 2/3 of a cup. That'll do. More. So 2/3 of a cup of seasoned breadcrumb. We're going to add to that some Parmigiano Reggiano cheese. Locatelli cheese is what I'm using. That's the brand I like. You can also use just regular shredded Parmesan. That's perfect. I'm going to do 2 nice heaping tablespoons. And this will kind of make a nice creamy yet nutty toasty crust on that salmon, and add a nice little salty bite as well, without adding too much extra salt to that breading. We're also going to add to this some garlic. If you know me, I have a sensitive stomach. I love to eat, but I have a sensitive stomach, so I can't eat too much garlic. So I'm only going to put 1 clove, but if you love garlic, add 2 in this, okay? So I'm just going to cut the woody end off my garlic clove. Make sure you peel yours if you didn't already. And just take the side of your knife and pound it with your hand. Look at that. That already starts to break up the garlic and does some of the chopping for you. Look at that, so easy. Now just take your knife and gently, be careful. You don't even need to have your fingers near the blade. Just run your knife through it and finely chop it. We want to get as much surface area as we can by finely chopping this up and adding that clove of garlic to our bowl of that breading. It already smells excellent. Don't forget about your onions. Make sure you're giving that a stir every so often.
So a couple questions.
Okay.
First is what your website is.
My website is gotroomformore.com. Like you're hungry, because I'm always hungry. I always got room for more. So gotroomformore.com, and then also I have my business, my catering and baked goods company called The Hungry Gnome, and the website's thehungrygnomeny.com. So check that out as well. I have a little promo going on where you can get a discount, 15% off, and I'll ship you some of my famous baked goods with the code GNOMEATHOME. So check that out as well. So back to our breading, and then we'll get to the next question. We're going to just stir this together, and then we're going to add some fresh parsley. I wasn't able to find a lot of parsley at the grocery store today, and I'm trying to avoid going to the grocery store. So what I had in the fridge was just this small bunch left, and you know what? I think that'll be just enough. You really want about a 1/4 cup of chopped parsley. There's a good amount of stems in here, so I'm going to remove what I can, but if a little stem gets in here, that's no problem at all. It has a lot of flavor actually in the stems. All right, twist it together. You can kind of make a little tight bundle. Try to twist them around each other like that, so you get a good grasp on it, and then just slice down. Look at that. We are, again, what's the word? Chiffonade. We're gonna chiffonade our herbs. Guys, you're getting a little culinary school education for free. I love it. Look at that. So beautifully chopped parsley. That's about a 1/4 cup. That's perfect. So we're gonna add that to our breading mixture. And then we're just gonna add olive oil. All right, let's grab the olive oil. We're gonna put in about a tablespoon at a time until it becomes kind of like wet sand so that we can press it on top of our salmon and it becomes a beautiful crust. So let's add a little bit, mix it. A little bit more, mix it. We're getting there. I think probably 3 tablespoons and we'll be perfect. Any other questions?
Yes, the other question was, can you bake the salmon? And if so, what temperature and for how long?
We actually are gonna bake the salmon, so that's a great question. And it depends on how big your piece is. I only have 1 pound because it's my husband and I only. So a piece of salmon this big, if you're keeping it as whole, which we're going to, this will probably only take 12 minutes or so, 12 to 15 minutes. I like mine more medium to medium well. I don't like mine really well done and dried out, but if you like yours fully cooked, probably 15 to 18 minutes per pound, I'd say, but this should really take 12 minutes. So look at that.
Can you just quickly repeat the ingredients for this mixture?
Sure. So we've got 2/3 of a cup of seasoned breadcrumbs. I had 1 medium clove of garlic finely minced, 1/4 of a cup of fresh parsley chopped up, 2 tablespoons of grated cheese. So I'm using a Parmesan Reggiano, or you can use just regular Parmesan. And then about 3 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil. We're just going to stir that together, and then we're going to form our crust on our salmon. So I'm just checking on my onions here for that spinach, and they're getting a little bit of color, so we got to be careful. We might need to lower the heat in a moment. Smells great. They're starting to soften. Just going to lower my heat slightly just so we don't burn the onions. But it looks like we're about ready for the next step of the spinach, which will be garlic as well. So let's chop our garlic up. I'm using 2 cloves of garlic for this. However, in a lot of creamed spinach recipes, it's going to be maybe 3 to 4 cloves. But like I said, I'm a little sensitive to garlic, so I don't put a ton. So I'm only doing 2, but if you like garlic, put 4. Get on in there. We won't kiss you later, but put as much as you'd like. So again, we're just smashing down on that peeled clove of garlic to kind of break it up, and then we're going to finely chop it up. Do the same on the other one. So take the heel of your hand, smash, releases all those juices also, and kind of makes it more flavorful and really penetrates the dish with that beautiful garlic flavor. So finely chop. That's looking great. We're going to add that to our onion in just a second. Do we have any other questions?
Can you use dried parsley?
You can definitely, especially for that breading, you can definitely use dried parsley. I'd probably use a little bit more. Actually, I'm sorry, a 1/4 cup actually is probably too much. I would do 2.5 tablespoons of dried parsley in the breading, and that'll be just fine. I like the fresh because I think it is a little bit more flavorful. I think it adds a nice pop of freshness and brightens up the flavor a little bit. But in these times when we don't have it, dried is totally fine. So just add that and that'll be great. Let's add our garlic to our pan. I can smell our potatoes working in there. So now garlic takes only a minute to cook because it's chopped so small, and we just want it to kind of, once you start to really smell it, that means we're pretty much there and we're ready to add some other ingredients just so we don't burn our garlic. Once it gets too dark, it kind of has a burnt and not so great bitter taste. All right, we're gonna season this because when we cook, we season along the way. We build that flavor little by little. So do a nice sprinkle of salt and a little ground black pepper. Because we also want to add that pepper now, and we're going to add nutmeg in a moment, because at this stage is when the spices, the dried spices, sort of toast in the heat and really get a nice robust flavor. So that brings me to the next spice, the nutmeg. So nutmeg, a little goes a long way. If you have fresh, the little kind of, they look like an acorn almost, you just grate a little bit in your pan. I'm going to use about I'm gonna eyeball it, about a 1/4 teaspoon max. And put a touch more because we're gonna make a good amount of, but literally a 1/4 teaspoon. That's all it'll take, and you will taste it. It adds kind of a nuttiness and a richness, I feel like, and a warmth to a dish that's very creamy and rich, and just really takes it up a notch. So I love that, and it's very traditional to put it in any kind of creamed spinach. So next we're kind of gonna make almost like a roux. So we're gonna add a little bit of flour to this, and that's gonna help everything kind of come together and become this thick, luscious, silky sauce. So I'm using regular flour. If you are gluten-free, just use gluten-free all-purpose flour. That'll work perfectly in here. And I'm just going to put 1 tablespoon and sprinkle it. Try to sprinkle it around pretty easily so we don't have lumps. And now we're gonna quickly take our spoon and we're gonna mix it all together. And that flour, like I said, is gonna combine with the fat, with that olive oil, and help us to thicken our sauce. Looking good. And just want to cook that raw flour out, that raw flour taste out a little bit. So just kind of toss it around on medium-low heat. Just get that moving. And then we're gonna add some lemon zest. So this might seem weird. I don't think you think of lemon in a creamy dish, but lemon really, any acid, and you'll hear me talk about this a lot in my cooking, every dish really needs acid to really bump up the flavors and brighten everything up and just elevate the flavors. So I'm gonna use lemon in this, and it just adds so much flavor. We're gonna zest lemon. So I need about a 1/2 teaspoon. So let's actually zest it onto our board. And I'm using a microplane. You might have one that's a little bit bigger. It comes in different sizes. You might have something that it kind of peels the zest. If you have one that makes little strips, just make the strips and then chop it up a little bit further with your knife. This will make a nice fine grate. You're just gonna take the heel of your hand, roll down, and make sure you're getting the zest off all around the lemon without getting too much of that white part. This is bitter. You want to just get that outer yellow part. That's where all those beautiful lemon oils live, and that's where you're going to get the most flavor, beautiful aroma as well. My hands are going to smell fabulous. It's actually going to help us from having garlic smelling hands. Look at that. So that should be it. It's about 3/4 of the lemon, I would say, we zested. And so it's about a 1/2 teaspoon or so. We're just gonna put that right into our pan, mix that around, and we're almost ready to add our coconut milk. At this point, we're gonna let this cook another second, and we're going to quickly crust our salmon because we're gonna pop that in the oven because it's gonna take about 12 minutes. And when we pop the salmon in the oven, we'll check on our potatoes. What I would recommend is the potatoes, if they start to look brown, maybe on the bottom, let's just take I use a metal spatula like this, and I just kind of flip them and just toss them around again, because then we'll get some nice even browning, and who doesn't love a crusty, kind of crispy potato? So I have my salmon. Again, I'm only using 1 pound. The skin is still on mine. We're gonna put the skin side down. Let's just smell it. It smells okay. Little fishy, but it's not so bad. We wanna make sure if our fish smells really, really fishy and kind of putrid, that's a test that maybe she ain't good. So check that always. So do a smell test. Smelling all right. Little fishy, but not bad. We're like, we had to cook this today. It's all right. So now we're gonna take that breading. This is really simple, guys. We're just gonna I probably won't use all this because I don't have that much salmon, but we're just gonna use our hands because the salmon's pretty moist on the outside anyway. We don't really need any extra oil, and we also have oil in the mixture. Just take our hands and look at that. Like, hello, we don't need to go to the steakhouse tonight, guys. We're gonna have a restaurant quality meal, and this is super simple. I'm sure you can see that. And again, you can do this on flounder different kinds of white fish that you like. You can even bread some shrimp in this and pan fry it. Why not? Okay, so that is looking beautiful. Get all the sides. Smells great. And now we're going to pop it in the oven. So 375 degrees, this will probably take about 12 minutes. I'm gonna set my Alexa timer. Alexa, set a timer for 12 minutes so that we can remember to check on it. And just check on your onions and your garlic. So we're gonna add that coconut milk. And while I'm putting this in the oven, guys, check on your potatoes. All right, guys, so I just checked on my potatoes. I have a convection oven, so the heat really circulates nicely, and so that means it takes a little bit faster. So my potatoes probably only need 5 to 6 more minutes. But that's okay. We'll just set it aside. They're gonna be too hot to eat right away anyway, so we'll just set it on a cooling rack and just let that chill until everything else is done. But let's move on to our creamed spinach again. So now we need some liquid. We need that creaminess that creamed spinach has. So I have full fat coconut milk. This is a non-dairy recipe, as I mentioned. I am not completely dairy-free, but I've been trying to cut it down because I do notice I feel a lot better when I don't have a lot of dairy, but I love dairy. But we're just gonna make sure you shake up your can because sometimes it separates. Just make sure that you get all that together, combined nicely. And we're just gonna pour out 1.25 cup. 1.25 cups of that nice coconut milk, and just pour that into your pan. Oh yeah, baby. That looks really good. And now what we're gonna do is just let that sort of thicken and reduce. So we're gonna raise our heat to medium heat, medium to medium high heat. We want this to kind of simmer and come together. I think I had a hair in it, I'm sorry. And just let that kind of cook together. And it's actually thickening before my eyes, and it smells great. You get that subtle coconut flavor, but with the onions and the garlic, it kind of tames it down, and the lemon as well. So it's not like kind of cloyingly sweet or like, what is this, a dessert or a savory dish? It blends really nice. You'll see in a lot of my recipes, I have one of my top recipes on my website is my coconut turkey chili. So it's a chili, like a white chili, but it's made with coconut milk. It's kind of Thai inspired. It's got lemon, it's got chickpeas, I'm sorry, not lemon, lime, chickpeas, and it just has this wonderful richness all from the coconut milk, and I highly recommend that dish. Everyone loves that one, super easy as well. Do you have any more questions coming in? Everybody doing all right? Everybody's dishes looking like mine? How many people are on right now?
Got about 10.
10, all right. We'll take it right now, you know? Last time in and out we had like 85 people, so, but I think if we have 10 active people, that's all we need, right guys? This is thickening. You can see this. Look at that. So look, if you come close, drag your spoon down, look back and forth, and it kind of, the lines lag to kind of join together, and that means it's really thickening. So just let that go for a second. While that's going, we're going to get our spinach ready on standby so we can put it in shortly. I have a full box. This is 5 ounces of baby spinach. So this is already ready to go. The big leaf spinach has kind of thick, tough stems, so I don't love to use that. If that's all you've got, don't worry. You might just want to break up some of those stems a little bit, but we're using this baby spinach. I love baby spinach. We make smoothies all the time in the morning. Quick tip for your breakfast tomorrow. It doesn't even taste like you're eating spinach. We do almond milk, banana, almond butter, and a little bit of flaxseed and a hefty handful of baby spinach and blend it all together, and it tastes like a milkshake, and you don't even realize you're eating a ton of spinach. Kids love it too. Look at that.
How much coconut milk went into this?
1.25 cups of full fat coconut milk. And guys, with coconut milk, sometimes people make this error as well, and they use the coconut milk in a box that you drink maybe in your coffee and things. It's not the same product. You really want the canned kind. This is the pure coconut milk. Like I said, the one in the container is usually more watery, and you're not gonna get the same texture and really the same flavor either. So please be cautious of that and make sure you get the canned. I go to Trader Joe's, it's super cheap. I get a whole bunch of the cans. I set it in my pantry. It's a great pantry staple. They do make a reduced fat one as well, which I use for some of my recipes. But for this creamed spinach, you're definitely gonna want that full fat. But wow, this is becoming a beautiful, almost gravy. So check on that. I'm gonna check on my potatoes for a moment. So just stand by, you can hang here for a minute. And if you have any questions, let me know. Any questions out there?
Will you post the recipe after?
I will absolutely post the recipe. What I've been doing is, since these videos are a bit longer, I am posting them on YouTube because there's no time constraint. Whereas on Instagram, there's a time constraint, so I can't save it to Instagram. But I will make sure to put it on my YouTube. I'll post the link, and I'll have the recipe written out on my website, Got Room for More. My potatoes are like 2 minutes away from being done. I'm gonna check on my timer, hold on. We've got 5 minutes and 50 seconds on the salmon before we check that. And this is just about ready to go. All right, we are thick. So now let's do a test. We want this to be what we call napant, or nappe. I think some people say nappe or napant, but you take the back of your wooden spoon, you dip it in the sauce, take the back of your spoon, take your finger, run it down. The lines do not cross. That means we are thick and we are the perfect temperature, thickness, and ready to go. So that means we're putting our spinach in. So the full box. We know when we cook spinach, it shrinks down to nothing and you're like, where did it go? So we need the entire box. And we'll probably not be able to eat all of this tonight, but this is a great thing we'll put in the container and eat some for lunch tomorrow. Okay. We're just gonna toss this a little bit, but then we're gonna put the lid on, which I need to acquire because I forgot it. And we're going to just let it wilt. It'll take probably 30 seconds to a minute to really wilt down. So let's just do that. I'm gonna put my bowl on top while I get a lid. Stand up. All right. Careful. Putting my lid on. This will only take, like I said, 30 seconds to a minute. I'm just gonna straighten up my area for you guys. Any more questions?
And just to remind everyone, what are you cooking again?
Yeah, what are you cooking?
What is the name of this recipe?
Oh, you want me to tell
Yes.
So we are making breadcrumb crusted salmon with a little Parmesan cheese. It's really tasty. With a dairy-free creamed spinach and rosemary roasted baby potatoes. So a real steakhouse meal, and it really is not taking too much time at all. I mean, how long have we been on camera right now? Maybe it's been 30 minutes. So we're almost done, guys. So that is not a bad meal. 30 minutes. Look at that. So that was what, 30 seconds to a minute. Everything wilted nicely. Just stir that together. Look at that. Now I'm just going to cook it a little bit longer on medium-low heat, stirring every so often, just to kind of further reduce it and reduce a little bit of that liquid. But that looks super luscious, and I'm gonna give it a taste to see if we need any more salt and pepper. So let's take our spoon, and I'm gonna take my potatoes out in just a second. Just be careful, I'm gonna probably burn myself, so let's be careful. All right. Smells really good. that lemon zest really brings out a nice, beautiful scent and flavor. Really good, guys. It really tastes like creamed spinach in so many ways. It's not, and again, it's not so coconutty, but we do need salt. So you always check seasoning along the way. Need another nice sprinkle of salt, a little more black pepper to your liking. Maybe if you have kids and they don't like, too much spice, you can leave that out. But that looks like it is pretty much ready to go. I'm gonna grab the potatoes to show you guys. So you can hang out with that for a moment. And then we're about 1 minute, guys, 1 minute away from checking on our salmon. All right, guys, look at those potatoes. Super crusty, beautiful color. Look at that, nice and crisp. Let's take one of them, put it on our cutting board, and just make sure it's cooked inside. I'm just gonna take my fork just to test. Yes, look, perfectly fluffy and soft inside with a crisp exterior. That is a perfect roasted potato. So those are ready to go. And we're gonna check on our salmon. Alexa's gonna go off in just a minute and tell us that she's ready to go. Anybody have any questions? Do yours look like mine? To be honest, I think this spinach shrunk a little more than, well, it's gonna shrink, but I would have liked a little more spinach in mine. So I probably would have done another 2 ounces, another half a box would have really been even better for this for me, but it's still great. Okay, I'm gonna check on my salmon because Alexa is about to go off. So let's keep this on low heat so it doesn't burn. Okay, Alexa's timer just went off. Alexa, turn off the timer. Look at that, beautiful golden brown crust. We want to make sure it's cooked inside though, so I'm just gonna take my knife. I don't want to mess it up completely, but I'm gonna cut through. You know what, it's still a little bit too rare here. This part is probably done though. This part's a little thicker, so may need another few minutes. But for the sake of time, I'm gonna cut off the cooked part for you guys so I can plate it with you. And we're gonna taste this together.
Oh, you paused.
You guys there? Sorry, we paused a second. All right. Look at that salmon. Flaky, pink deliciousness inside. Perfect portion. Put that on your nice white plate. Are we good?
Yep.
Did it stop or?
Nope.
All right. Sorry, we have technical difficulties. I'm gonna stop my spinach now. I'm gonna do a nice bit of that creamed spinach. Like so. Then we need some potatoes, right guys? Be careful. Let's put a few. Those crispy shallots. Who doesn't love a crispy, almost fried onion? Wow. Look at that. And now I'm just gonna, I have a little extra parsley in my little cup here. Just gonna put just a little bit right in the center. Clean off the edge of our plate. And we are ready to eat in just a second. Actually, I forgot one thing. We want some lemon squeezed over the top. So I'm just gonna take, you can use a fresh lemon. This is the one we zested. So I'm gonna use this one because I don't want it to waste. I'm just gonna cut vertically down and then cut just a small wedge like so. I'm gonna do a little squeeze of lemon right on top of the breading. And you can just keep it on the side if you want a little extra. And that is a gorgeous dinner, guys. We've got that beautiful breaded salmon with that wonderful crust of the seasoned breadcrumbs, olive oil, garlic, Parmesan cheese. We've got those rosemary potatoes with those crispy shallots, the beautiful fresh rosemary, salt, pepper, olive oil, and that dairy-free creamed spinach, guys. You can have that rich, comforting dish without all the calories and feeling after the meal, right? So check this out. I'm Got Room for More, gotroomformore.com. Check it out, all my other recipes as well. I've been posting constantly during this quarantine, so be sure to check out my Instagram as well. I'm so glad you joined me. Thank you so much. I'm Danielle Sepsi. Have a great night and stay safe and healthy. All right, love you guys. Join me again soon.